just in case you're wondering, because we all find it so thrilling, turns out the European Commission have said yes to Activision Blizzard, and the UK are probably seething about that one. But there's quite a lot also happening in some other news. We've also got Valve trying to clamp down hard on its gambling problem, and some other fun things with staggering sales figures for Tears of the Kingdom and a studio implosion. Just like how you'll implode without today's sponsor. Yo, let's polish up our goopy gamer brains. I mean, I know I really need to do it. And if you want to learn maths, computer science, essentially become a modern-day wizard, then interactively break down big problems into small ones that are easier to understand and crush them out with brilliant.org/Bellular News, where the first 200 people to click get 20% off the annual plan and the 30-day free trial. So, do you like, say, number crunching in games and how all of that works? Well, how about you get started learning the fundamentals of computer science, a 3-part course that will take you through the pillars of the field. And once you've done that, you can hit up neural nets and algorithms, which will give you an understanding of how things actually work and why. I mean, hell, I remember some algorithm complexity stuff led to World of Warcraft servers performing terribly during Battle for Azeroth. Yeah, this stuff hits the real world, doesn't it? They cover so much more, of course. They partner with amazing creators like Sabine Hossenfelder, Real Engineering, Kurzgesagt. Brilliant took the stuff that wasn't always as fun at school, unless you had a total legend of a teacher, and really, like, approaching as an adult, I'm getting that sense of accomplishment. It actually does boost my day a little bit, you know? You knock out some problems, you think, oh, that's a thing that looked hard and confusing, but I did it. I feel good now. Yeah, funny how it works like that. So, get started now. The first 200 to click my link, brilliant.org/Bellular News, get 20% off an annual plan, and that's where you'll also find a 30-day trial. Okay, Elijah, you probably won't implode, but do check them out. Right then, the European Union, they have said yes to Activision Blizzard. They have said that Microsoft can go on ahead and do that acquisition, which is quite fun. Now, they actually, funny enough, do agree with the UK CMA, who of course are the bunch who said no to Microsoft. They basically agreed on the potential risk, saying there is no risk to competitor consoles or subscription services, but that the place of risk is in cloud gaming. But unlike the CMA, the European Commission are willing to take Microsoft's offers on remedies, right? They're actually willing to take up the offer and then monitor that Microsoft don't go and alter the deal, which, I mean, they've sort of went against their word before on things like this, specifically with Bethesda and ZeniMax. Anyway, they say a free license to consumers in the EEA that would allow them to stream via any cloud gaming service of their choice, all current and future Activision Blizzard PC and console games for which they have a license. So basically, you get to stream your games anywhere. And a corresponding free license to cloud game streaming service providers to allow for European Economic Area-based gamers to stream any of Activision Blizzard's PC and console games, which, I mean, ultimately, I think we'd all pretty much be happy with. Now, of course, that doesn't mean you get the games for free. That just means that, the license for, the license for, like, a third party to stream that game, that the license is free, and I suppose that third party would, of course, obviously still be collecting any, sales or whatever via whatever their cut is. But basically, they put this down to the effect that it will ultimately benefit consumers, and they believe without this acquisition, Activision Blizzard would not be putting their games on cloud soon. So it's saying, right, do it, put it on cloud, then it's a net win. That's a bit of a TLDR. Now, as per Microsoft's fun tangles in the past, the EU have proven, a bit more willing to actively enforce their decisions. If Microsoft breaks any of these, there, surely will be consequences. There have been EU consequences for Microsoft before. But of course, this does not mean that the deal can go ahead, because the CMA verdict still does stand. And then this makes it all quite confusing. Now, of course, if you're saying, why does Activision and Microsoft, a bunch of American companies, well, you got to remember they operate in the UK, right? They do have like subsidiary companies that are in the UK. All this stuff is horrendously tangled together, which is kind of the point. Okay, so with basically the UK and the EU being split down the English Channel, the FTC, of course, which is the American body, now have two routes to follow. Does the FTC follow the UK or the EU? Right? And interestingly, per Brad Smith, well, he basically said this, right? Brad Smith, obviously, big guy, Microsoft. The European Commission has required Microsoft to license popular Activision Blizzard games automatically to compete in cloud gaming services. Quote, here's the bit that matters. This will apply globally. So obviously that means it will apply to the United States as well. It's not like one of those situations with, say, the new iPhones where, in the EU, we're all going to be getting USB-C cables. But that it will not be as good a deal in the US. Okay, let's move on. Valve gambling. So, Valve have updated some of their policies on Steam, but compared to, what we've seen a little bit more recently with, a lot of the adult game stuff and monetization stuff where NFTs are just literally never okay, this is a change for every single subscriber, right? And the biggest thing here is this, as spotted by XMercy, who's a CSGO person. On Steam, gambling and gambling-related behavior is now explicitly disallowed under the prohibition of engaging in commercial activity. And anybody who does do that will face an account-level suspension, right? So, that is up to a full ban, which is not good if all your things are on Steam, because then all your games have just exploded, and you're screwed. Particularly great. Now, what was pointed out, of course, is that Valve are not just doing this for the good of their health. Well, actually, no, I suppose they literally are. The reason is legal battles centered around the subscriber agreement and skin gambling. Of course, CSGO skin gambling. This has been a topic of discussion for absolutely years. I'm sure you remember all the big stories of the gambling sites who are then basically doing like crate openings with streamers and stuff, but it also turned out that some of the streamers doing the promoting also had like a co-ownership or some sort of stake or obviously conflict of interest with the actual provider of said gambling, which was all a pretty damn bad look for everybody involved, including Valve, because it was completely facilitated by their platform. So this is kind of shut, this has been annoying for them, and this is basically just them putting in a new rule so that they have a new legislative tool to hit people with. Okay, the next thing then, we do have the fun of Fulbright. This is a story you will have remembered a while ago. So, back in 2021, Polygon did an expose of Steve Gaynor. Of course, that's Fulbright. They did games like Gone Home, which was one of those critical indie darling sort of games, and also Tacoma. He stepped away from the studio because of significant allegations of mistreatment of staff, specifically from a number of female staff who were leaving the studio in a pretty short amount of time. It was just like, why are they all going away? Let's investigate. And the investigations didn't really find great things. Now, this was awkward for Annapurna Interactive, their publisher. They said that the team remaining would be continuing to work on Open Roads, which is their road trip game. Okay? We then did not really hear much about that, right? The game just continued to be worked on, hopefully under better employment conditions. But there is then a final twist in the story, because on Friday, the 12th of May, the Fulbright newsletter suddenly appeared in people's mailboxes. And it was from Steve. Yeah. So Steve, Mr. Gaynor came back with basically a very truncated version of events. He basically said, last time I sent one of these, we were just wrapping in the first round of press for Open Roads. Then there was some serious turmoil at the studio. I stepped away from the project. Not much was shared about what we were working on. I did my best to reflect and reconsider how I worked with people and what the best role was for me, and now 2 years have passed. So basically what has happened is he's now working as a solo developer under the name of Fulbright. And then the game Open Roads is continuing under Annapurna, but they are now being credited as the Open Roads team for the game's final release, not Fulbright. So that's the situation. Fulbright is following Steve off in some sort of solo adventure. I can't imagine people are going to be, jumping to work with him, given everything that did come out, and the game itself will continue on. Okay, now, a game that is not just continuing on, that is absolutely going freaking insane, is Tears of the Kingdom, right? Its sales are absolutely massive. There's obviously the walls of reviews, right? Now, here's the thing. It is already the best-selling boxed game of this year in the UK. And you might think, like, okay, one region and physical. Come on, who gives a shit? This isn't important. But it kind of is. You'll see why. There are some other things, though. So, it is Nintendo's second biggest release by revenue in the UK, after Wii Fit. So that's pretty damn big. Box sales have blown past Hogwarts Legacy by nearly 50%, despite that being a game that released on PC, PS5, and Xbox, and also was Hogwarts Legacy, which was bloody massive. And it's the highest revenue Switch release total because of people, in fact, double dipping because of postal delays as well as that collector's edition. Thing is, it probably won't be the best-selling title of the year. Nintendo do not release their digital sales, and Hogwarts Legacy is probably going to be it. Thing, though, is, right, it's not in the doc. I did see numbers, and if you can find them, I'm sure Colin will put them up on the screen for you, that this is selling significantly faster than Breath of the Wild for UK physical, and Breath of the Wild, of course, sold really good UK physical. And that basically is a good thing, because as time has went on, physical has went down, even on Switch, right? More people have good internet. I think a lot of, local shopping hobbies, maybe for getting games, were sort of trained out by a few years of lockdowns and stuff. So even with physical trending down, this has exploded physical compared to what has came out prior. So yeah, not that anyone would have been at all surprised, but massive sales. The next thing then is a bit of a funny to end us on. I was like, we can sort of include some fun stories. Okay, so research mistakes and video games. Thankfully this time, it's not a war that we're talking about. It is The Pope's Exorcist, which it seemed to get kind of middling reviews, and that was sad to me because honestly, I've always had a thing for like horror movies with priest characters and exorcisms. Maybe because of The Exorcism, I suppose that would do it. But anyway, people maybe didn't expect to see Dragon Age Inquisition in this movie. But no, here it is. That's the Inquisition. There they are from Dragon Age in the movie. There you go. So that's it from Dragon Age. To be honest, I probably would have preferred it if it was the Inquisition of the Imperium of Man. Quite different from the Spanish Inquisition, but there you go. This is probably just some very overworked set designer, and I imagine everybody else saw and thought, oh, yeah, sort of eye, squiggly line imagery. Looks cool to me. Didn't really think too much else of it. So there you go. That's the news. A bunch of interesting things that have went on. If you'd like to support us, there are many other videos on the channel. Big thanks to today's sponsor. And with that said, I will see you next time.